in this topic,
Mm-hmm.
share with us a little bit about your school, your role, and your like now experience. You talked us through a few weeks ago. You talked us through what that transition was like, but
Yeah.
talk to us a little bit about your school right now and what that is looking like in Newark.
Okay, so we are Essex County Vocational Technical Schools, Essex County Schools of Technology. My school is Essex County Newark Tech, and we are a small district. We have 3 high schools only, so every county has a vocational technical high school, so we are in Essex County. We have about 753 students in my school, but overall district-wide is over 2,500 students in this district. I did graduate from this school, so I am a proud principal of my high
Yay!
school.
Amazing.
So,
Wow.
you know, that's a story that I enjoy telling people, because especially my students, so that they know that I know where they're coming from. You know, I lived in this area. I was brought up in the school district. So, you know, the school really helped me build my foundation and where I'm at right now. So I'm very proud of it. So every day I feel like I'm coming home. You know, when I'm in this building, I feel like I'm home. So we did speak, and I thank you again for bringing me back on this platform. And I've been joining in on all your ed chats, and they've been great. They've been wonderful, very inspiring to know that other administrators and other school districts, we're all going through the same thing, and we can learn from each other. And this is what these chats are about, is to learn from each other, because there is no playbook as to what's happening in education with this pandemic. There's no playbook. We didn't learn this in our grad program, you know, how to deal with a pandemic, where we had to prepare literally overnight to educate our children through a virtual platform. And so this is really unique situation. And when we first spoke about how we prepared for it, you know, I told you that our district had already gone 1-to-1 before the pandemic, and my school was the last school to receive laptops for every single one of my students, which was in November. The pandemic happened in March, so we were already used to the students using some type of Google platform, you know, Google Classroom, or a virtual platform for education. So we were a little bit ahead of the game, but not totally prepared. And so now fast forward, here we are, April 23rd. And so yeah, April 23rd. And all we can do is listen to what our government is saying about when things are going to open, and base our information on that. So, you know, last week we had spring break, and right before spring break, our district was thinking about, you know, maybe canceling spring break and just closing school a little bit earlier. Those were talks, but I think we all agreed that we all needed a break. You know, students, teachers, you know, administrators, we all needed a break.
Let us know if you needed a break out there. There's some people out there who
you know, thumbs up.
Yes. And I know that some schools did cancel spring break. If you're one of those schools and they cancel spring break, also just let us know and make sure that you ask questions and comments. But go ahead, Carmen, Principal Morales, you were saying?
Yeah, I think that the spring break was well needed, just to shut it down. Even though, and I think I was talking to you about it, being a school leader, you feel like you're obligated to constantly work, right? And so being in this virtual world in education, it seems like, I feel, and if anybody out there is an administrator, teacher, and you feel the same way, I feel more overwhelmed being home, working from home, because you feel like it's like nonstop checking your emails, making sure that you don't miss something. Because again, students are communicating with us through emails, right? Because they don't have my personal phone number. So if there is some type of tragedy, or something where the students need help, and you kind of feel like you're constantly you have to check in. And I didn't know how to shut it down. I didn't know how to take care of myself.
Yeah.
And when I did stop to not do anything, I began to feel guilty. And I don't know if anybody out
Anyone
there
else?
feels that
That's
same way.
real. Wow. So
Yeah.
just let me just give you some feedback here. Some people are saying absolutely they do agree that you constantly have to respond to all hours of the day. People, that's resonating with a lot of folks out there. And let's talk about like that guilt, right? Like that comes with first off, like let's just name, we are all, especially leaders, more so than our teachers, but that's our job, right? We are carrying a much heavier load. And particularly when we decide to, we feel that guilt when we decide to pause and like take a moment to be with our family, or to just like say, I'm gonna take a nap, or I'm gonna go for a run and disconnect. So talk to us about what that experience has been like for you.
Well, I kind of it really resonated with me this past Monday, because it was right after spring break, right? So now we're back to work mode. And we had our first Zoom meeting with my administrative team. And so coming back from spring break, not hearing from them, right? And then coming back to a laundry list of things that need to be completed or addressed before the year is over. We do these brain dumps, right, on our notebooks. And I think I showed you my notebook of like
Yeah.
a full page of things
Yeah, those brains are
that I
real.
needed to accomplish and tackle. And I think when I looked at that, I really felt this burden, this overwhelming burden on me. And I literally had tears in my eyes, because it
Yeah.
was like, can I do this now? And I don't know if I shared this before, but this is my first full year as a principal, and I know I'm hearing a lot of brand newbie principals and
Yes.
administrators that are really talking about how this is impacting them. But let me tell you, you could be brand new or seasoned, it's impacting everybody. And I'm so happy that you are doing these type of talks, because we need to connect with our peers, right? We need to listen to our peers and get resources, and just know that we're not alone. Even when we're feeling down and overwhelmed, that we're not alone. And we may not know everything, guys. I know I don't know everything in the book, and I'm learning from others. But this is a great time to stay connected to our community of educators, stay connected to our families, stay connected to our students and our teachers, because we are learning from each other how to adjust and how to make this work for all of us. So again, thank
Yeah.
you for having this.
You're very welcome. I just want to commend you for just first off, like it's no easy game being in your first year of school leadership, and also being a woman in school leadership and being Latina in school leadership. That presents its own challenges, but also there's a lot of like strengths in that. And
Yeah.
I know that this work gets incredibly hard, and that people are constantly looking at us for answers, and it is okay for us to say, hey, you know what, I don't have all the answers and I'm figuring it out, and being just committed to like figuring it out, going
Right.
to this community, coming to this community, asking the questions that you need to ask. Someone said Principal Morales is doing a great job. Keep it up. Yes,
Thank
brand new
you.
vice principal, literally only a month, and then this happened. So, Principal Morales is setting the stage for all us educators to stay linked. Amazing. And so people are definitely like showing you some love.
Thank you,
Um,
everybody.
I want to talk about like last night, this came up in our conversation, and we just like to keep it also like relevant to how people are responding, our audience. And there's this whole like idea of what it takes to be bold during adversity, right? And like being bold means showing up. Being
Right.
bold means also being bold enough for yourself to overcome that guilt, to put that oxygen mask on first, because we are
Right.
only as good as, like, we can't serve others in our best capacity if we're not at our best selves. And listen, I'm preaching to the choir right now. I literally
Yes.
had one of my homegirls tell me that yesterday. She was like, "Well, you're preaching oxygen mask," and I was like, "No, but I did do, you know." And
Yes.
it's a
Yes.
constant struggle. But for you, what else, like, for you, when you hear being bold through adversity, being bold through crisis right now, what has that meant for you and your team, maybe your superintendent, maybe your teachers, maybe your families? Like, what have been those bold moves that you have all made during this time?
I guess, one of the moves I think that our team has done a great job in is again staying connected and listening to our staff, listening to the students, and what needs need to be met first, right? We always talk about, the decisions that we have to make impact so many people, right? And the decisions that we have to make, they have to be instantaneous. There is no time to really think out a decision all the way through, because we have to make them very quickly now.
Right.
And so when I think about being bold, is that when we make a decision, is it benefiting our children? That's the first thing.
Wow.
Whether people are going to like it or not, because maybe it's going to be more work on them.
Yeah.
Is it helping our children succeed? Right? Is it helping them emotionally, socially? We talk about that social and emotional learning. Is it impacting them? Is it going to help them? Is it going to help our families? So every decision that we make has to be based on our children first, right? And what's going to benefit them, what's going to help them. And then if we are satisfied with that, knowing that our children are going to benefit from these decisions, then everything else will make it work, right? We will make it work, even if it's not the best decision out there for others, so to say. So we have to always keep the best interest of our children first, and
I
that's being bold.
It is, yeah. And I heard you say, like, really during this time, bold in adversity also means that you are making decisions, and sometimes those decisions are against the general consensus. And those decisions are grounded and focused in students first. You all, if there's nothing else you take away from this call, is that every single decision right now, you as a school leader, you as an educator, as a teacher, as a parent, as a community member, when it comes to schools, the decisions that are made should be made with our students first. What are some specific things that you all have done, like, for kids that may not be like the traditional approach? You shared some stuff with me that I think are some really inspiring stories. And I think some principals sometimes might be grappling with, well, is it ethical? Like, is it legal? Is it, but knowing that that kid, like that family, needs someone to reach out to them. So what are some of the things that you've done?
Perfect example. Last week, the beginning of our spring break. So we had a teacher donate a couple of ShopRite gift cards, and she wanted to stay anonymous, but she's not anonymous in my book. Like, she will always be right here with me, because she's amazing. She literally drove to my house, dropped off these gift cards, and said, just give it to any student who they're struggling right now, because families have lost jobs, and money's running out, right? So I put it out there when I had my class meetings. I put that information out there. If any student is struggling financially, families are struggling financially, please let me know. We do have a couple of ShopRite gift cards that we are donating to families, as well as my district as a whole. started a Venmo account where staff is donating to the Venmo account, and we are raising money to purchase more ShopRite gift cards for families in need. So I did have 3 of my students reach out to me personally and said, look, my family's struggling. My dad passed away from COVID. And that really broke my heart, you know, knowing that they're mourning the death of their father at the same time. The breadwinner of the home is no longer there. So they're going to be struggling financially. So I put on my mask, my gloves, and I left my house and I dropped off these gift cards to them personally. Now, we're supposed to be home, staying away, social distancing, but I felt that was necessary. It was better than just
Wow.
mailing it out, because I don't know how the mail system is working during this time and whether they were going to get it on time or not. So I wanted to make sure that they literally had the gift cards in their hands so that they can go out and get some food. And they were so appreciative, you know, things like that we're doing. Yesterday, I was on my way to one of my students' homes because we haven't heard from that student since virtual school started. So that's over 3 weeks we haven't heard from this student. So I was literally going to go to the family's house to check in on the student, but thank goodness he had emailed me right before we were leaving to say I was not
Wow.
home. The parents had sent him out to Spring Valley, New York, to family members because there was some health issues in the house. So again, it's that making those connections and making sure that your students are okay. You
By
know,
any means, like when we talk about doing whatever it takes,
yeah,
this, you all, is an example of doing whatever it takes. And this has nothing to do with grades. It has nothing to do with A's, with B's, with standardized testing, with meeting the standards. This is the essence of the work that we do. You know, and you may not have to show up and into that family's house. You know, you can put it in their
right.
mailbox stuff, but they will never forget how much you as a school principal, how much, you know, that teacher, your vice principal, your team has rallied around them and cared for them as people first.
Yeah.
And that is just something that is inspiring, and hats off to you and your team, because even in the midst of all of this, when it's so easy, it's so much easier to retreat in and to kind of turn your face the other way. You guys are stepping in and leaning into your families, into your community. So lots of love there. And then I want to just hit on this point last and see, for this one, I'm gonna ask you all to weigh in on this one, because I want us to be able to offer Principal Morales also maybe some strategies around this. So, and it's not just her, it's probably something that many principals are experiencing right now. It's particularly in high schools, and it's the engagement rate, right? So everyone starts really, tell us about that, how it started, what you do, and what it's
Yeah.
like now, and what you're trying to do. And I'd love for you all to weigh in with things that you're doing with engagement, and some strategies and tips that may help her as well.
So I started like early, like everyone else, right? Every school trying to connect to their students and making sure that everybody's okay through these Zoom meetings. And I told my students we're going to have 2 class meetings twice, you know, 2 meetings a week. And so at the beginning, we would see hundreds of students joining in. And so this week, you know, I was talking to my vice principal, and we noticed that not many students are joining anymore. Like our Zoom meetings, our class meetings, they're not joining anymore. So we definitely want to check in as to why that's the case. Is it because, you know, either they know I'm recording it and I'll just share it on their Google Classroom, and so they can always check whatever message I shared with them, you know, at a later time? Or are they really just checking out, like they're done?
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
so, you know, those are things that when I check on them this Friday, so I have my meetings on Tuesdays and Fridays, and it's scheduled, each grade level is scheduled when to meet with us. And so that's really a time for us just to connect, just to say
So that's a
hello.
time where everyone comes together for just like a community meeting for
Mm-hmm.
each class. Okay.
For each class, yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
I'll have my, you know, my senior class right now. I think it's the class that's connecting more, because they want to know what's happening, right? So they want to know, like, what is going to happen with prom, what's happening with graduation, are we coming back? So that's the class that's really connecting to these meetings more than any of the other classes. But again, the decline in joining into this meeting, it's real. And so, you know, that's something that I may have to adjust, or maybe instead of making it twice a week, make it once a week, just to adjust based on their needs. Like, what is it that they need? What do they look for in these meetings? And so we're only going to learn by asking those questions, and probably surveying them, and letting, you know, they have to let us know what are they looking forward to when we do have these meetings, and make those adjustments.
Yes. So a couple of things, and we're getting some comments. I want to make sure we mention some of these. So it's because we might be busy trying to complete work, or we're busy doing stuff at home. Very true.
Okay.
A lot of students are very stressed out about all of this. Absolutely. And then there's a question about ideas on virtual graduation.
Good point.
So do you want to start with any of them, and we can.
You know what? It's funny how you know, companies, especially these professional music companies, are now changing their own platform, or their own mission,
Yeah.
right? To meet our needs. So it's all about, you know, looking at the demands of what's happening right now. And these companies are very smart in adjusting their whole vision on how they started, and then how they can make money off of this whole pandemic. So we're getting tons of emails from different companies reaching out to us saying, listen, we can do virtual graduations. This is what how we can meet your needs. I'm actually scheduled for a webinar this afternoon with one of the companies on virtual graduation, just to see what they can offer, and of course price is going to be a big part of that. You know, how much are they going to charge? But we had one company tell us that they can do maybe a drive-in type of graduation, where we can use a local park in our area, and they'll have small little radio boxes, like FM boxes, to give to each vehicle that comes in, and they would park them like an amphitheater, like if they were looking in a drive-in movie, like if you think of a drive-in movie, and they will have the screens and the music and everything. But it's all about the preparation for that, right? Like, what does it take to prepare to give them the material to host a virtual graduation? And those are things that we are discussing as a district, but also looking into some of these companies to see if that's a possibility, or is it something that our district can do on our own, because we do have TV production, radio production, we have graphic designers, we have, you know, video production in our district. So is it something that maybe we can do in our district using our own tools?
That's awesome. You know what? I want to suggest a couple of things. Kids have more work online than what they were actually doing when they were in school. Yes, in some cases, in some schools, that is the case.
Yes.
Just depends on where you're at. I want to just first mention something about the graduation. So a couple of things that I would encourage for engagement right now. Consider things like, even just besides bringing them all together, consider bringing them together on platforms like, some schools are doing Netflix and chill. Some schools are doing like a Facebook Live, or I guess Instagram. Our kids really aren't on Facebook, but you know, some kind of heads up game. There's an app called House Party, and
yes, I heard that
like
one.
a game app where you can actually play games with kids. So consider things like that. House Party also has it to where you can keep like a room open, and the kids can like kind of rotate in and out, and like you can see everyone's faces. So there's actually a lot out there that I'm learning about, that I think all of us are learning about. And TikTok is obviously a big engager, so maybe a competition around that. And last, I think, well, we're also trying to figure out like what to do with our students' graduation. Our kids are really creative people. Really creative. They will like blow your mind. So why not, you know, tap into your senior class, get them to start planning and do polls and run surveys with their community to see like
Mm-hmm.
what they want for graduation if we cannot go back to school.
Right.
And maybe that's a way to start preparing them. I know for you all, you're still not sure whether or not you'll be returning to
Right.
school, but for a lot of folks, it's been communicated. School is canceled for the remainder of the year. So I just encourage you all to engage your students, your seniors, really at any level for anything that you want to do. Ask them, how can we bring everyone together? Put some of them in charge of it. And
Yeah.
I promise you, they will surprise you. They'll tell you about apps you didn't even know existed. All right.
Oh yes, they will. I try to start these meetings with anybody has anything to share, anything new. We want to know about it because they do.
Oh, good.
They're more informed than we are, and absolutely, you're so right about having the senior class committee, the executive board,
Yeah.
start planning those what the future is going to look like for the end of this year. We're going to have to do that, and so May 15th is the date that we're telling everybody that we're going back to school. So I told them that we will keep them informed. As we get information, we're going to share information because we want to be as transparent as possible with
Absolutely.
them.
Yep. Yeah. So thank you so much
Thank you.
for your time. I just like honor, respect, admire the fact that you attended this school and you are now the school principal.
Yes.
How amazing, special, revolutionary, transformational that is. I don't know many people that can say I'm now the principal of the school that I actually attended.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge, and I know that has brings a whole new level of meaning for you and your community. Keep up the great work. Keep
Thank you so
fighting.
much.
Stay